Rock and Roll Hall of Lame. Mojo Nixon is dead. He did not like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but you got to be a certain age to have remembered and or appreciated Mojo Nixon. His real name was Neil McMillan, but he was a guy that was a nonstop shrimp disturber. This guy, he was on the radio, he was touring, he was making rockabilly punk rock music. He was mostly novelty songs. He did an album with Jello Biafra, the Dead Kennedys, a long time ago. And he died on one of these cruises. You know, they'll do there's heavy metal cruises and there's country cruises. And I guess he had a heart attack, maybe too much shrimp at the buffet. I don't know. But Mojo Nixon, if you know him, I doubt any of you guys do.
Nope.
He had a heart attack on the Outlaw Country Cruise. It had been docked in San Juan, Puerto Rico. He was hosting it. He was performing. He was 66 years old, and he died on the cruise. So that's a fun back half of that cruise, if you were there, to hang out with him. He had a song called Elvis is Everywhere that was a big deal back in the day on MTV. That's probably the closest thing he ever had to what you could call a hit. He had Destroy All Lawyers. He had Don Henley Must Die. And he was featured pretty prominently in those early MTV promos. We've referred to the movie Great Balls of Fire on a handful of occasions here, where Dennis Quaid plays Jerry Lee Lewis.
That's my wife, and I love her.
And I love her. And Winona Ryder plays his cousin/wife. Mojo Nixon was the drummer in Jerry's band in that movie. And he would show up every so often in movies, but he was kind of a pop culture figure for a long, long time. He did radio. He was on EBN in Cincinnati in the late 90s. For people who listen down there might recall that. That's like the MMS of Cincinnati. But he was just a guy who was always out there causing trouble and doing songs and touring and having fun and writing goofy tracks. Debbie Gibson is Pregnant with My Two-Headed Love Child. It's one of his songs. Don Henley didn't have a problem with Don Henley Must Die. Mojo Nixon was, remember a long time ago, he was doing a show in Austin, Texas, and Don Henley's from Texas, and he got up on stage and sang with him. And so it's a very acquired taste, Mojo Nixon. But he was a guy that was always doing something. He was just kind of a pop culture anti-hero, for lack of a better term. I guess primarily Gen Xers, right? I mean, you're talking mid-'80s to late 90s for Mojo Nixon. I hadn't heard anything about him in a while, but he was out doing one of these cruises, and he had a heart attack and died. But if you get a second, find some Mojo Nixon and listen to it. And you might hate it.
I think I'm good.
You don't want...
I'm good on Mojo Nixon.
Really?
You
don't want to hear Destroy All Lawyers?
Nah.
You don't want to hear Elvis is Everywhere?
Probably not.
I
mean, it's bad that it sucks he died. 66, not super old. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to dig into this.
When I look out into your eyes out there, when I look out into your faces, you know what I see? I see a little bit of Elvis in each and every one of you out there. Let me tell you, well, Elvis is everywhere. Elvis is everything.
You're saying this isn't your cup of tea, Mojo Nixon.
This is wildly different from the Cleveland song, so this actually like this more.
Yeah, more of his songs were like this. He was
Okay.
rockabilly, kind of a punk rock thing.
All right, well, then maybe I will give it a little bit of a shot. But.
Yeah.
He's in everybody. Elvis is in your jeans.
He kind of wore his influences on his sleeve. He kind of had the pompadour for a while. But listen, there's a fine, long tradition of artists along those lines. Reverend Horton Heat, they do kind of more of a straight-ahead rockabilly thing, but it was... Mojo Nixon and Skid Roper were partners for a long, long time. But I just remember as a kid when, in the early days of MTV, Elvis is Everywhere. That song was on MTV a lot. The super low budge video. And they were playing it, trying to make a pop culture star out of Mojo Nixon. And it never really took off. He would show up every so often. They'd trot him out on something like CNN when they wanted kind of a lefty punching bag for things like album censorship, or, I had Dee Snider on this show a couple of weeks back, and we were talking about when he was one of the people who testified to Congress back in the PMRC days when Al Gore's wife was trying to introduce the parental guidance sticker on albums. That's pretty standard now, but back then it was pretty controversial. Mojo Nixon was another one of those guys that they would haul out and throw him on CNN and pit him against some right-wing goofball in kind of a point-counterpoint situation. So Mojo Nixon, if you want to do a deep dive into something that I'm sure Mary will get way into it.
Yeah. Me and Mojo, we go way back.
If you want to do a deep dive into something entertaining, you might want to look at Mojo Nixon. But he's dead at 66. You know who is back on the market, though? And you guys might not even know who this is. Mary might. You know who Jason Isbell is?
Jason Isbell?
Isbell, I-S-B-E-L-L.
No,
Okay. He was in a band called Drive-By Truckers. He's kind of a lefty country artist, folk kind of bluegrass type thing. I've
heard of him from somebody like, he does somebody's podcast regularly or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. He's real good. But he's got a super foxy wife, another musician named Amanda Shires. And she's a fiddler and a singer, and she's just crazy hot. And I think she might be in the Highwomen, that band with, what's her name? Highway Women, whatever. Anyway, they are splitting up. So, Jim Florentine's going to be in here a little bit later on, and I'm going to see if maybe I can put Amanda Shires on his radar. He's a single dude. But Jason Isbell and Amanda Shires are splitting up. And so if you know who she is and you know who he is, he was a guy who got sober and for the last 10 years. But before that, he was really living the life. He'd been married a couple of times already, a decade and a half ago. And he's out there living the life. If you know Drive-By Truckers, he was with them for a minute, but this was a guy drinking like whiskey and doing cocaine every night of the week. And hooks up with, he'd been collaborating with Amanda Shires for quite some time. And the relationship developed from there. But now they're splitting up. And man, is she cute. Super cute. So worth looking into. And you're saying to yourself, Alan, what the hell does that have to do with my life? That's for you to answer. I don't know what that has to do with your life. But she's super cute. And now she's back on the market.
So go get him.
Yeah, right. Alan was Mojo Nixon, the tie my pecker to my leg guy. He certainly was. Tie my pecker to my leg. Now that is a song rife with expletives. I couldn't even play that for you. And I'm certainly not going to take the time to edit it for your consumption. But you can find it. And it's just about down home, backwoods, inbred effing. But it might be worth your time. If you don't have Mojo Nixon, your store could use some fixin'. I think that was a sticker that they would put in record stores. Record stores, kids, are things that they used to have where, I guess they have them again, but in far fewer quantities than they used to. It would be, well, the name was pretty self-explanatory. A record store was a store that would sell records. And then you'd go and buy them, conceivably. I guess there are a few record stores now. They've had their resurgence over the past few years. I got money to give to you here. It is $1,000. It's courtesy of the Buzzard Bookie. So listen for your shot. You got 4 of these this afternoon before we start it up again tomorrow morning. So this is your first of those 4. Good luck.
This is your chance to bet with the Buzzard Bookie and win $1,000 now. Enter this nationwide keyword at WMMS.com. Grand. That's grand. Enter it now at WMMS.com.
People keep sending me the sleeping polar bear picture, and I don't know why they're doing that. I don't know if we've recently talked about polar bears. I don't know if...
I think we talked about bears in Florida. I don't know.
But we talked about the crack bears.
Yeah.
That guy who wants to make sure that people can shoot crack bears.
Yeah, I don't remember us talking about polar bears.
I don't either. And again, it's another one of those things that's supposed to be More and more you'll see stories that are supposed to be feel-good stories or things that you go, oh, but the subtext is terrifying, right? It'll be, oh, this polar bear is sleeping on a piece of ice, except it's sleeping on a piece of ice because all of the other stuff around it is melted. And
They're just so beautiful.
what's that? Polar bears?
Yes.
Are
just
they?
An all-white bear. They're just beautiful. Like, it's art.
I guess. Well, listen, if you're a regular listener to this show, you know Poundcake's mantra, if it ain't white, it ain't right. So it's no secret that he would zero in on the bear that to him is a piece of art for one reason and one reason only.
Polar
white.
bears are.
Huh?
Not regular bears. Just
Not
polar
regular bears, just polar bears.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. Like, I feel like it's just a beautiful animal, and it's in.
Well, they drink
the
my understanding, I was watching a nature documentary and they were talking about the polar bear, and it seems like very rare in the animal community, though, that they have an almost complete diet of Coca-Cola. And I didn't understand that. I'm pretty sure it was a documentary I was watching.
Not only is that unhealthy, it's just fiscally irresponsible for a bear that, who's paying for this?
I assume, listen, there are a lot of
Are they
places.
just stealing it?
There are a lot of places around the world where you can't drink the water, so people are living on pop and things like that. I would imagine that maybe the Coca-Cola company is airdropping, they're just dropping cases of Coca-Cola. I don't know.
Like, even if a bear is, I'm sure it's probably ferocious, but like, if you were gonna get eaten by a bear, wouldn't you want it to be a polar bear?
I would like to not be eaten by any bear.
If
But
that
what
was an
kind of
option.
bear would you want to be eaten by if you got eaten by a
If you
bear?
had to be eaten by a bear.
But the inside of the bear is going to look exactly
It
the
doesn't.
same.
It's not about what it looks like. Which bear? Answer the question.
You get a couple
What
minutes
bear
of
do you
beauty
want you
before
to be
die.
eaten by?
Panda.
But they're vegetarians.
Yeah! Wild card. I cut the brakes. You can't eat me. I'm made of meat.
Are they
I
vegetarians?
found a loophole, homie.
I always just see them pictures with bamboo. Like, I don't know.
Well,
if they're
that
vegetarians.
is a plant. Yeah. I don't know if they are. Like a koala is not a bear. A panda is a bear.
What's a koala?
It's a marsupial,
A marsupial.
right? They call it a koala bear, but I don't think a koala is a bear.
No.
I don't think so.
A panda is. But
Is a panda an actual bear, or is a panda?
no, I
is
think a
big-
panda is a bear.
a big ass
Panda-
marsupial.
Yeah, no, I think it's a bear. That designer song, that's how I learned mostly about them. But if I were to be eaten by a bear, I don't know why you'd land on polar. They look massive.
I'm gonna
And,
go with
they
Bear
are big.
Grylls.
What's that?
Bear Grylls.
You'd want to be
Use
eaten
Use my
by
body
Bear
to survive.
Grylls.
Finally get a TV credit out of it.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
I mean, Poundcake is probably the only one among us who's ever been eaten by a bear.
Mm-hmm.
What's the female equivalent of a bear?
I don't think we necessarily need to go down that. Girls who go to Lake Superior State University. I don't know what that team name is, but up there in the Sioux, they gotta hunker down and covered in Carhartts. But I don't know. So again, I don't know why people are sending me that photo. It's been 2 or 3 people that have sent me that, and so I thought, well, there's a lot of instances where we'll forget things that we've said here, but the audience picks up on them.
I'm being told it's the best nature picture of the year.
Is that what it
They're
is?
sending it because it's a great picture. It's a really cool picture.
Photo of the year by an amateur photographer. Okay, well, there you go.
And you're such a
Coca-Cola.
big proponent of amateur photography, so of course they'd send it to you.
Nature.
I am?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a proponent of amateur photography.
Amateur nature photography is something that you're always going on and on about.
That is true. I mean, I say, they go, here's the nature photo of the year, and my first question is always, was that shot by a professional or by an amateur? And that they say the latter, I go, well, then that's okay.
I like that they didn't give you any context. They're just like, here, look at this picture.
I never get context when people send me stuff. There's zero context because, that's learned behavior. There's so much on this show that's zero context. They're just reflecting that back to me. Alan, polar bears have clear fur. The reason it looks white is because of the refraction of the light in the dirt.
Clear
There's
fur.
no dirt.
I'm sorry?
They're on snow. What dirt?
Well, they still get dirty. I mean, there's grit in snow and things
Oh,
like
they're
that.
saying, okay, I thought they were saying that the light reflected off the dirt on the ground, and then that made the polar bear look dirty.
Well, listen, if you've seen any other recent polar bear habitat photos, there's a lot of dirt because all the ice is melting. So, I don't know. Pandas aren't bears. They're placental mammals. Okay. Well, there you go. I thought
I'm
just
just
going
gonna call them bears. I don't like that. I don't like that placental mammals title.
I'm playing them on 2 hours to midnight Saturday night. Placental mammals. They're on that Lamb of God Mastodon gig that we're presenting. I'd hate to die by a rabid trash panda, Stephen Canton says. Was that a raccoon?
Yes.
Yeah, trash pandas.
Also a minor league baseball team.
In where, Fort Lauderdale or Alabama or something like
I
that?
want to say Alabama.
Okay. Poundcake would die on his way to the Arctic long before a polar bear got to him.
You don't know that.
No, you don't know that. I bet Poundcake would really, we can all laugh about him being dropped into the wilderness, but I bet if you dropped him there, he would really flourish. I bet he'd figure it out.
Probably curl up in a ball and cry.
Well, right, but then you'd come to your senses. I mean, anybody who finds themselves in that situation would probably, might be their initial reaction, but then you'd find your resolve. You'd find that deep well of resolve that has served you so well, these many years.
Probably. I would feel bad, like, killing an innocent little animal, like it's just around, I'm in its home, and it doesn't know why I'm there, and then I'm like, gotta kill you, gotta roast you over a fire because I need to survive.
Okay.
I would, but I would feel bad. I'm like, tastes so damn good. I wish I had some hot sauce.
Hot sauce. Yeah. Well, this is what I'm talking about. He would attack Alaska with his own way of doing things. He would rediscover parts of Alaska. You could settle in, Mary's been there.
I love it there.
In
Gorgeous.
you've been to Fairbanks. Where were you? Anchorage? Nome?
Anchorage.
Yeah, there you go.
Anchorage.
Well, is there still gold there? Didn't people go to find gold there? There were mining camps.
Are antibiotic-resistant strains of STDs.
Hey!
Consider that gold.
Super gonorrhea.
Uh-huh.
I mean, gold-ish. It probably has more of a greenish
A
tint.
drip more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Not a gold rush, more like a green drip up there in Seward's Folly. Well, anyway, if you're going to be eaten by a bear, Poundcake votes polar. I vote none. And
You can't vote none. You got to pick
I can't
bear.
vote none.
You got to pick a bear. That's not the question. Is would you rather be eaten by a bear or not? Everyone's going to pick not. But you got to pick which bear you want to be eaten by. That's the question he posited to you.
I think Poundcake is trying to ingratiate himself to Barry White because we're going back out for the polar blast, and he doesn't want any kind of he doesn't want any confrontation. You guys are on the same team, though, right?
Mm-hmm. He slides down. He slide on through. Yep.
Yeah. Alan, that person that said that pandas aren't bears is incorrect. While they are indeed placental mammals, so are we. Yeah, but we're not bears either. What do you? They are or they aren't? I don't know. This all started because multiple people sent me this picture of this bear, a sleeping bear. I was ready to do another 20 minutes on Mojo Nixon, Bill.
Oh,
Thank God.
And here in the middle of nowhere, context-free, comes this photo.
I'm going to go with black bear to eat me.
You'd want to be eaten by a black bear.
Yeah.
Now, why?
Because I'm not woke at all.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Yeah.
All right, well.
Bill Squire's amazing.
One of the funniest guys ever.
He's not woke at all.
Eat me, black bear. I don't care.
Alan, I'm surprised Poundcake doesn't die on his way to work every day. Well, that's rude. I don't know what they mean. He knows how to drive a car. This isn't Alaska. We're not up against the elements every single day. Maybe his punishment should be dropping him in the wilderness. Tell you what, that's going to be Poundcake's punishment should he lose the Polar Blast battle. We're going to drop him in the middle of the metro parks.
Homeless one way or another, either in the wilderness or downtown Cleveland.
We're going to drop him in the middle of the metro parks, and he's going to find his way out of the, whatever they call it, the pearl necklace.
Nope.
I'm sorry?
Nope.
Maybe that's what I should do. I'll have to go on Naked and Afraid or Survivor.
The name of that show feels redundant. Naked and Afraid. I think you call it something else, because if you were to drop me in the middle of the jungle naked, I would indeed be afraid. I'd be afraid of everything. Huh?
Some people aren't afraid, though.
Well, they get a lot. I think you have to be a certain minimal level of survivalist to be on that show. They're not getting accountants from Topeka and dropping them in the jungle.
They should.
So they're all, I agree, but I think they're all at some kind of minimum level where they won't die on day one, where they kind of know what they're doing, but I still don't get the naked part. I got a break here. If you want to send me a text, 35192. Speaking of our Polar Blast battle, I'll have another spot on Bill's team around 3:20. Jim Florentine back in today to join us a little bit after 4. He's doing a show at the